Welcome, everybody, to the Digital Nomad Experts podcast by Beach Commute. Today, Marissa and I are going to talk about 6 random destinations we've lived as digital nomads. Going through this list, we were trying to think of places that really aren't on the beaten path for digital nomads, places that are a little bit of a head scratcher. We thought back and went, why the hell did I even go there? For most of these, I still don't have answers, and maybe we can exercise that out of me. We can probably get to the bottom of how I arrived at these destinations. Maybe a little bit for you too. But we'll have a little bit of fun in this episode. Talk about some places that maybe won't be popping up on your radar quite as often. It doesn't mean that they're not good digital nomad places. Each one of the ones I've chosen were interesting in their own right. They just, for whatever reason, they just don't show up on the map.
And also to add to that, before we hop right in, part of the reason we want to share these with you as well is just to share. We get a lot of questions of where people ask, where do I go? Where should I go first? And so by sharing just all these random destinations we've been to, not just the most popular ones, you'll start to get a feel of is this a place that you'd want to go? What is it like to go to these more random destinations? And even it might just help you start to choose, is it a continent you want to go to? Is it do you want to go to that country? Do you like bits and pieces of what we're talking about and want to find more of that in a different destination? So as you listen, we hope that it helps you discover where might you want to live or not live as a digital nomad. And Jeff and I we overlap on some places and countries, but we have very different preferences as well. So you'll probably hear that come out too. And with that, you want to start us off with your number one, Jeff?
Yeah, my number one is Mokrin, Serbia. That's Mokrin. It is I've got the Wikipedia page up right now. It is a population of 5,270 people, dirt roads. It feels every bit of a population of 5,000 people. Just to give you a little bit of context, I wasn't just there visiting some random village for 1 month. They have a co-working, co-living place there. So what that means is they've set up, it looks like a drug rehab center, basically. It's completely gated in and kind of isolated from everything. So you're driving around these dirt roads. There's really not much there. It's just all kind of flat. And then you get to this space, the Mokrin house is what it's called. And you've got these big tall walls. And then you drive in there and you've got this perfectly manicured yard. You've got a few buildings, one of which is a restaurant. Another one is the housing barracks, your rooms. And then you've got an enormous co-working space. And then a natural springs pool that has giant bullfrogs in it and everything like that. But it's this whole self-contained unit where they've got their own garden where they cook from and prepare your dinners and everything. And it's really odd. I've never done anything like that because everything is done for you. Everything's right there. It's the closest I've ever gotten to being on a Wi-Fi tribe chapter, probably Bolivia, come to think of it, because everything is
You're saying
self-contained.
Closest that wasn't actually a Wi-Fi tribe, because you've been on Wi-Fi tribe chapters. You're saying
it's
that on your own.
I mean, the closest comparison I could draw to it would be Diego's house in Bolivia, which is because it's all such a self-contained unit. Everything you need is within the walls, right? So you kind of don't need to leave the walls because there's nothing else out there.
Co-living, productive place. But let's talk. First question here is why, before we get to Mokrin specifically and the co-living place that you did specifically, I'm going to break this down to see if we can solve some things and also help for people understand how did you end up in Serbia in this place? So my first question is, why did you choose the country of Serbia to begin with? And then we'll take a layer deeper of why you chose where you went.
Okay, investigative reporter. I like it.
Investigative. Tell me.
I chose it for the same reason I choose most places. I had a 3-week gap in between a trip to Romania and then a trip to Tbilisi, Georgia. And I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, and I thought, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. 'Cause usually I rush it, and I pull the trigger on something, and I go, I just did that impulsively. I didn't really, put much thought into it or wasn't very mindful about the decision. And I was between that and Turkey. And my friend Alex says, hey, we're going to go book exact 3 weeks that I needed at the Mokrin house, this place in Serbia. And it just fell perfectly in those dates. I was like, do you want to come? I'm like, yeah, okay, perfect. That fell into place. That was exactly the way where I was supposed to end up. So no, I had no intention of going to Serbia. I wasn't a huge bucket list item. Like, oh my God, I got to get to Mokrin, Serbia. It just kind of fell perfectly into place, and I just kind of rolled with it.
Yeah, I love it. I kind of ended up in Serbia accidentally as well. Apparently, it's just an accidental place.
It's just you just trip and fall in Serbia, and you're
somehow it happens.
Let's see where we go from here.
Yeah. So with that, I want to explain a little bit what Jeff's talking about here. He was living in this sort of co-living place that is really set up for, it's not your typical like live in the country, feel what the country's like, explore the country, go on all these trips around, like walk around in town at night and stuff like that. But every now and then when you have lived as a digital nomad for a long time and you're on the go and it's like exploration after exploration, you get kind of tired, and sometimes it's nice to just go to a place like this where we really do work. A lot of people don't believe we actually have jobs and do work as we travel. I think some of our friends probably still don't believe this from back home, but we're working. And so sometimes it's really nice to just go to a place where you don't have to think. You're just in a nice, peaceful setting. Like you feel good in the accommodations where you are. The food is easy, and you can just get work done and kind of be peaceful and turn your mind off and not make a million travel decisions. So I don't know if that was well, I do know how it was for you there, but it sounds like, that was a little bit needed for you at that time, and just the invitation came, and it happened to fall in Serbia near where you were. You had friends there, and between two locations you were going to anyway.
Oh yeah, I was a child. I did nothing for myself. Didn't clean my room. Didn't even make my own coffee. I tried to go and make myself a coffee, and they like practically slapped my hand. They're like, "What are you doing? No, we do all the things here. You're taking my job, sir." It's like, "Oh, all right." So they make your coffee 3 meals a day, like I said, straight out of their garden, right there on the premises. Sports, meditation areas. Amazing. It really was like a drug rehab center, like everything that you see in TV shows, but for co-working, yeah. And it was for nomads who need a travel break. Yeah. It was very
so places
productive
like that.
You don't have to think about anything.
I would say like if you are thinking of like you just want a different experience, or you just like want to go work on a new project or a side hustle, or just you have a big project coming up for work, like places like that can be really nice, and it's just nice to take a break sometimes, because as nomads we like go, and I think a lot of people are like, well, why would you just go to a country and not go anywhere or do anything, or like it's different, but it's needed every now and then. I'll say that. So yeah. Any last words on Mokrin, Serbia?
Yeah, if that's kind of something that appeals to you, you just want everything taken care of for you, it's kind of a good start. It seems way out of the way, but it's actually a pretty good start for a beginner digital nomad. We met one there. It's like our first digital nomad trip, because like we talked about, you don't have to think about anything. You don't have to make any decisions. Everything's cooked for you. All you have to do is worry about working. And sometimes that's a good starting point for new digital nomads. So it doesn't have to be Mokrin House. There's a lot of these co-working, co-living types of setups around the world. You can just Google it or use ChatGPT to figure out what they are. But that's definitely, in terms of like Eastern Europe, that's one of the top ones that people talk about. So it's a cool spot. We did get outside of the Mokrin House a few times and hung out in the village and went to the village like barn dance thing. So funny. And then to the biggest city nearby, which is like half an hour away. So we got out a little bit, but it was like, yeah, like you said, full blown recharge mode.
Yeah. And I would say, just for anyone interested in Serbia, we do have a lot of nomad friends who end up in Belgrade, in the capital of Serbia. Every now and then is a more popular destination. If you're looking for an Eastern European city, Belgrade is a cool option. Serbia is pretty affordable. There's actually good Wi-Fi. There's things going on in Belgrade. So if Serbia calls to you, but you don't want the co-living drug rehab equivalent, the co-working rehab that Jeff was at, you might like Belgrade. So all right, that's Serbia.
Okay, what do you got?
Okay, the first one on my list that I had of just a very random destination I went to was a little town called Flickenflack in the country of Mauritius.
I forgot it was called Flickenflack.
I can't get over it. Flickenflack. It seems like a cartoon. Like
it feels like an Alice in Wonderland character's name.
Yeah, it does. And I think you spell FLIC and then space EN space FLAC. And so I never look at stats like you do, but as you were talking about that, I was like, I'll look at the population of this because I'm curious. So the population of Mauritius, so it's an island. It's technically an African island. It's off the coast of Africa, kind of near, like, Mozambique is the closest, like, inland country, and then you've got, like, a couple other islands nearby. But the whole island itself is 1.26 million people on the whole entire island. And Flickenflack, the little town that I stayed in, was only like 2,000 people. So also a pretty small town. I ended up in Mauritius because there was a Wi-Fi Tribe chapter there. So if you're new to listening, so Wi-Fi Tribe is a company that our co-founder, our third loving co-founder, Diego, is also the founder of Wi-Fi Tribe. It's how Jeff, Diego, and I all met. And it's basically kind of month by month co-living for nomads, like in different locations always. So they'll have what are called chapters, and it might be anywhere from 10 to 20 digital nomads who are part of this community. And like any given month, they might be in Spain, Cape Town, Bali, like Costa Rica, Mexico, Argentina, like, and it rotates. So like they're in different places every month, but it's kind of like a set time where they rent the accommodations and you come. Some people, you know, I had met before because I've done a bunch of these. Some people I had never met before, but there was, I want to say like 21 of us, of digital nomads living together in this kind of like compound of different apartments and houses.
It's a pretty full chapter. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was one of the bigger chapters that I've done. And for me, as soon as I saw Mauritius on there, I like to do chapters when I was still doing them that were a little bit off the beaten path. So we've talked a lot about, if you like scroll way back, like the 6 most popular destinations for digital nomads, or like just kind of the more on the beaten path ones that you'll see. And when you go to those, it's really easy to find community. But I like to do Wi-Fi Tribe chapters when they're just like in weird random places where you're not going to find many digital nomads, and it would be hard to find a nomad community when you're just landing there to spend a month. So for us, like when I went to Mauritius, if you've listened, you know that I love tropical beaches. And when I saw this like African island, it's kind of like in between India and like Mozambique. It's like kind of like in the middle of the ocean there, kind of near like Madagascar and some other countries. But I was just full yes. I was just like, it's just a tiny island. It like, I feel like people go there on their honeymoon. It's like the white sand beaches, pretty water. There's like, if you Google Mauritius, you'll see this picture of it's the only underwater waterfall in the world. So if you're like above it on a helicopter, like in the ocean, there's the sand that falls into these 2 cliffs, and it looks like there's a waterfall in the like underneath. Underwater waterfall. Mauritius will come up. It's a really cool picture. It looks cooler in pictures than it does in real life. It's insane.
It doesn't look real.
It doesn't. It looks like if you've watched the movie Moana, I feel like it kind of just looks like God. The island. It's an insane island.
You got to Google this, listeners. Just
Google
this real quick.
Underwater waterfall. Looking. Mauritius.
Wow, that's trippy.
It's crazy. So it was just, yeah, it's an epic place. It's funny. So this sounds like a snobby digital nomad moment, and it is and it was. But when we first got there, it's not a popular nomad destination. There's 20 of us there, so we rented like 4 or 5 cars and sort of shared them because it's not walkable at all. If you listen to the last episode that Jeff and I did together, we were talking about like what makes usually great digital nomad locations is that you can walk. Mostly you can walk everywhere. So this is one where you're like isolated. In fact, like you would get attacked by like stray dogs. Like we had someone who got bit by a stray dog. Like if you walk, it's just, or you're like on a road or a highway, it's just not a great like walkable place. But if you have a car and can zip around, the island is like insane. Like you feel like you're driving through Jurassic Park. Like the grocery store like has this view of these like crazy peak mountains that we're like, how did this, like the sun is setting and there's like rainbows and you're just like, where the fuck am I? Like, what is this place? But at the same time, it was also kind of a strange place to live as a nomad because the towns were like, it feels like more of a place you might want to go on just like a resort beach vacation and do activities versus like live as a nomad when we first got there. But what was cool is we ended up getting to know, it's really popular for kite surfing. So if you're a kite surfer, there's some awesome spots here in these like beautiful bays. And we got to know some of the local kite instructors, like kite surfing instructors there. And I feel like once we found them, they sort of like helped us break in and like meet local people and like take us to local spots. And like, for example, we went camping with them one night on this, it's like a little tiny island off of the island that like they set up, and like we brought tents, and I just like woke up on this like tiny little island looking at like the prettiest view in the world with no one else around. I was like, how did I end up here, you know? So there were some really cool moments. There was some, like a lot of people go just for time zone wise, I think it's maybe 7 or 8 hours ahead of US time zone, if I remember correctly. Could be wrong there, but something around there. So a lot of people, my work is flexible. I can work when I want, but a lot of people are working at night. So they'd go kite surfing in the morning and then work, in the evenings. Some mornings we would go like swimming with whales, like literally jumped in and you're like in the middle of the ocean with these wild whales, just like swimming. Same with dolphins. There's the hiking there. If you're a hiker, some of the most like epic hikes I've done in the world. And I've done a lot, like to some of the prettiest views I've ever seen. So yeah, it feels like Jurassic Park, Wild West. It was a really random destination, hard to get to. Once you're there, you're sort of locked on this island, but there's a ton to see and do. There's like beautiful waterfalls, lots of activities. If you love beaches and ocean and nature, it's cool. But I had a lot of friends who like would see all my Instagram posts while I was there. Some of our Nomad friends, they're like, I want to go. Should I go there? I'm thinking about going there next month. And I was kind of like, I don't know. I wouldn't really recommend it, which is a strange thing to say. So I'd say unless you have if you have a solid group of people that you want to go with, it's a really cool place to explore. Like if you have a group of friends set up already, that's my advice. But if you're just almost zero community, of Nomad community, and to break it, like, you have to be someone who's like, I will meet local people, I'm good, I can do that. So if so, like the local people are really wonderful and amazing, and I loved getting to know them, and I feel like I still am friends with them on Instagram and follow and like see all their, like the guys who took us out, swimming with whales and who took us camping and kite surfing, like still follow them. But if you're just if you're starting out, it's not like the Wi-Fi is a little bit shaky from time to time. I think there was like a cyclone two cyclones when we were there, which I found out is just the name of a hurricane that starts in a different location. If you didn't know, now you know.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
I know. It's like, what is it? Hurricane, cyclone, and there's one more that I'm blanking on.
Tsunami.
But they're all the same.
But
that's
I don't know
the
what
waves.
a tsunami is.
Tsunami is just a giant wave. Which also there are tsunami warnings.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
There.
Well, there was another thing that I'm missing.
I can't think of it. Either way, it's just the same thing. They just start in different places in the world, which I didn't know till I was there. So, Typhoon, that's the one.
Typhoon.
So,
that's it.
Yes. Thank you for that. So anyway, Mauritius, like Google it. You're going to be blown away by the pictures. If you're like me and love beaches, you're going to be like, I must go there. But I will say as a nomad, only go if you've got a community of people to go with you and explore. If you're going solo or maybe even with one other person, you might be a little bit like let down, I would say. But otherwise, it's a funky place. It's cool. And I would say it took like 2 weeks to really get into the flow of life there and meet people and feel good there. And then it was really cool, but it like took some time to like, all right, there's a car. How do I get around? Where do I want to go? What's my daily schedule? Like it was tricky there. So anyway, go with the community if you go. Otherwise, go for more of like a vacation. And that's my experience with Mauritius.
Do you think it'll turn into a digital nomad hotspot, or does it just not have the infrastructure? Nope. No, it's just too far removed. I think it's just
so far away. If you look at a map, it's like an itty bitty island that like you have to like, if you go on a map, you're like pinch and scroll in to even like see it on a map.
Yeah.
But again, Madagascar is nearby. Like there's the island, like Reunion, it's a French island nearby. So those are the only ones, and I think they're just so remote that
It'll never.
I don't know, you like have to really fly. It's like in the middle of between like Africa and Asia. It's just like kind of in the middle of nowhere. So I don't think we'll ever catch on as like a hot spot for nomads, especially, I don't know, there's just something about it's not walkable, the infrastructure's not there, because you have places like, like Bali or like other islands that, I mean, Bali's not quite as in the middle of nowhere, but like other islands that have become these kind of digital nomad hotspots, but this one's just, I think it's too far in the middle of the nowhere, and it's just too hard to get to, and it's not like a walkable special island in that way. So I think it will stay more of like honeymoon resort vacation style. I don't think it'll ever pop up as like a hot nomad location.
Okay. Yeah, there's sometimes there's just geographical limitations to certain places. It's just before it used to be infrastructure just didn't allow, you just couldn't get internet on beaches, right? And now that that's available, you're good. But when you're that far isolated from everything, there's really nothing much you can do about it. So
yeah, because if you don't like it, most places you go somewhere and you're like, oh, if I don't like it, I'll just pop over to the next country. That one, like, you're like, you got to get a expensive flight out of there. Like, it's not, you can't just pop over to somewhere close. Even the next island to take a boat takes like a full day. So yeah, that's out. Okay. What's next on your list?
So next on my list would just be like various parts of Romania. I'm going to go through just a couple of these. The first one would be Brasov. That's Brasov. And you've been there before, right? You went to Brasov?
Yep.
A couple days?
Yeah, I was there. I just did, I was living in Bucharest and just did like a weekend in Brasov.
Yeah, okay. Honestly, I would have flip-flopped that. I think we spent maybe a month in Bucharest and 2 or 3 weeks in Brasov. Honestly, should have done like a month in Brasov and maybe 3 days in Bucharest.
I don't know that I could have done a month. Well, I think I did almost.
It's pretty
a month
small.
In Bucharest. I was there at the same time. But yeah, Brasov is like a teeny little Eastern European town that I feel like you like. It's not my speed, but you liked it. So tell us what you liked about it.
Well, Brasov, I think, is more or less a ski town. I think it's intended to be like a ski town type of attraction because you're surrounded by all these mountains. Like actually looking at the town square, you're looking straight up a mountainside, which is pretty cool because you get a little bit of combination of both. You get tiny city life. There's some halfway decent restaurants, a lot of good coffee shops. I think 0 good beer there, which is unfortunate. But you've got a lot of like cool nature around you. And we were able to climb up the sign all the way up the Brasov sign. It's kind of a nice little hike. It's kind of
like the Hollywood sign.
Yeah, it's just like the Hollywood sign.
The Hollywood of Romania.
Yeah, exactly. It looks over the town square. It's pretty cool. And then you've also got Dracula's Castle, which is, I think it was maybe like 45 minutes away. It's very, very close. So we went and did that. Yeah. And that was underwhelming at best. It was so small.
So touristy.
I was shocked. It was so fucking touristy. I mean, it's Dracula's castle, so I don't know what I was expecting. Of course it was touristy. But it was so unremarkably small. Like I thought it was going to be this big, grand, Dracula's castle. It's not. It's like the size of my suburban tract house. Maybe even smaller. Other than that, like the surroundings were fine. We kind of got in and got out, but what was more exciting is they're having a festival right across the stream, looking straight down on it. And they're all celebrating the sheep coming home, which is adorable. Like apparently the sheep. Fun. Yeah, it was way more fun. They head up into the mountains for summer, I think, spring, summer, whatever, and they come down in the fall, and all the sheep come home, and they all celebrate by eating the sheep. So we go into this town, and they're all cooking sheep everywhere. Mutton, right? I think it's called
they're
mutton.
Eating them all?
Maybe not all of them, but they're certainly eating some of them. I could see it.
Oh, no.
But it was, despite how you feel about the village atmosphere was really, really cool. It was like super local. Everyone's really nice. Dancing all over the place. Live music all over the place. It kind of felt like going to a pumpkin patch in October. It's just I don't know why it gave me that vibe. It just felt like you're sitting on haystacks. You're sitting on like little haystacks, and there's like foods and stands just wafting over all over the place, and it smells great. So it was kind of fun. Dracula's Castle, absolute skip. 2 out of 10. The Return of the Sheep.
I think it's funny just
11
to
out of 10.
Drive by and see it. 11 out of 10. Return of the Sheep.
Yeah, just right out the window.
That's why I love Nomad life.
Would have been totally fine.
Nomad life is the best because, as Jeff's saying, it's like if you look at Romania, like if you're like, what do I do in Romania? It's like go to Dracula's Castle. It's like Transylvania. It's known for the vampires. Like that's the touristy thing to do. But I love like when you spend extended time there, you're like, okay, actually I had more fun at like the coming home of the sheep instead of like the touristy things. You kind of find these random every time. Like the thing you're supposed to, it's always like the things that happen to you like on the way to or from the things that you're supposed to do that end up being so much better. But why did you end up in Romania to begin with? You never shared that.
Oh, yeah. And this is actually part of the reason I think it will not become a digital nomad hotspot is because it used to be non-Schengen zone. So for those of you not familiar with Schengen is a group of countries in Europe and Eastern Europe that's all counted in terms of like travel. It's all counted as one place, basically. So you get your tour stamp and you get 90 days to stay in the Schengen zone, which now makes up 20-something countries? It's a lot. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. And you get 90 days out of a rolling 180 days. And they're damn serious about it, too. If you get up to that 90 days, you have to get out of the Schengen zone. And that was our solution. I actually done that twice. Went to Romania twice to kind of reset the clock, so to speak, and go somewhere where it's not going to count against my Schengen time. And we thought, well, honestly, like the decision came down to this place or another place, and we couldn't find good Airbnbs in the other place. We're like, well, we've never been to Romania before, and it was 2020, 2021, so the COVID thing was still a little iffy. Like do you remember they had the color coding system based on how bad the outbreaks were? Like if you're coming from like a dark red country,
orange, level,
you have to,
you're like not allowed
exactly.
in. Get tested before you go. It's weird travel times.
The dark red ones were like test before you go, test when you get there. This one was kind of nothing. So it was out of Schengen. Yeah. There was no testing. So we were homeless. I think what we're getting to is we were homeless, and we needed.
Where were you coming from?
Barcelona. We just spent like 6 or 7 weeks in Barcelona, and we were chewing through time, and we had a month booked in Italy's, and I was like, 5 weeks out, so we're like, oh shit, we got to get out of here. so we booked a place in Bucharest. We were there for 3 or 4 weeks. I do, for those of you who haven't heard Marissa's misgivings on Bucharest, I want to give you your 30-second spot on that. I thought it was fine. It's just old Eastern European crumbling, kind of ugly, like in a kind of charming kind of way. But they did have a couple of nice parks there. If you remember, there's that really nice park with the pond and everything. That might have been the one redeeming
like my refuge.
factor.
Yeah,
it was like the one refuge.
You and Diego liked the coffee there.
Coffee was incredible. I don't know where that came from, but their like fourth wave coffee culture is just bar none. For whatever reason, there's a lot of things wrong with Romania. It's not coffee. They're investing all their energy into coffee for whatever reason.
Yeah. So to give my 2 cents, it's funny, I actually ended up in Romania because you were there. So I was in Bulgaria, the neighboring country, and I also needed a place to go next for a couple weeks. So I was with some friends, and I was like, Jeff and friends are going to Romania. Like my friends had to get like a passport or something, like it worked for them as well. So we're like, all right, we're all going to meet in Romania. So I went because Jeff went. So I also want you guys to hear, I think it's just fun, like so many people always, one of the most common questions we get when people learn that like you can be anywhere and work anywhere and at any day, at any time, they're like, how in the world do you choose where to go? So this is how we choose. Your friend heads up there, you're in the neighboring country, you got some time to kill. So Romania was weird. Sorry Romania, love you, no desire to go back personally. Eastern European is just not, I've been all over, it's just not my thing. But also for people listening to Schengen Zone, it is some weird rules of nomad life. So that's SCHENGEN. And just to give you a kind of feel for some of the countries in that, it's like some of the more popular ones are Croatia, France, Greece, Iceland, Portugal. What else do we have? The Netherlands, Spain, Sweden,
all
Switzerland.
Of Western Europe.
Yeah, like most of the hot spots in Europe there. So again, just be mindful if you are thinking about becoming a nomad, or you're not yet a nomad, or you're just starting and you're like, I'm going to go spend 6 months traveling throughout Europe. You be mindful of the number of days you can stay in the Schengen zone, and it counts for a lot of countries, and you got to pop out. So that's why people, I think you just said Romania is now part of it, but a lot of people, I think Serbia is still not. I don't think Bulgaria is, unless that's changed since we were there last. So that's why people will kind of go to some of those neighboring countries to get Bulgaria got added. On the list.
Yep.
Wow.
This year.
Things are changing.
It's getting annoying.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now you know. The more you know. So anyway, just be mindful of that. There's weird nomad. Mostly when you go to a country, you just get a tourist stamp and you can stay there for 30, 60, 90 days, something like that. And then you can pop over to the neighboring country. But Europe is a little bit different, because all these countries have band together and like you can't always stay in those. So that is that. All right. So with that, by the way, before I hop to my next country that I lived, if you're hearing this and you're like, I want to live in these places, or maybe you don't want to live where we're saying, but you want to explore wherever it is you want to explore in the world, the best way to do that is get a remote job with a company that like truly lets you work from anywhere, where they really don't care where you are. You can be in Romania or Serbia or Mauritius or wherever you want to be, as long as you get your work done. And the fastest way to do that is to check out the Anywhere Atlas. So this is a database of companies that we at Beach Commute have put together. Jeff and I have scanned just about every single country in this, every company. I'm on the country mindset today, but every company in this list. So if you go to normal job boards or remote job boards and you're trying to find these companies that will let you work from anywhere, you're not going to find them. Most likely you're going to find remote from the US, remote from your country, remote from home, remote from a state. But if you're looking for a company that will truly let you work from anywhere, we've got 300 plus of these in our Anywhere Atlas that we have personally vetted, rated, ranked, looked at all of these and truly made sure that 100% of the jobs that they hire for, they let everyone in their company work from anywhere. And a lot of them are like what we call, like they say remote first, but have the mindset of like, they're excited for you to work from anywhere, not just like, I guess it's fine, but you're breaking all these rules. So with that, check out beachcommute.com/atlas if that is something that interests you. It's truly an awesome resource, and we send daily email alerts with some of the hottest remote job openings each day as well. So with that, anything I missed so far, or should I move on to my next one, Jeff?
Let's hear it. I'm ready.
Okay, this one actually was another Wi-Fi tribe chapter, as I mentioned. We're going for some random ones today. So this one was Muscat in Oman. A lot of people, when I said I was living there, had never even heard of the country. So that's Oman. It is a country in the Middle East near Yemen and the UAE, so like a 4-hour drive from Dubai. It's probably like the most popular place that people know nearby. And it was cool. It was a really cool country. It's another one I would recommend, like either if you're doing it with a couple friends or your family, or like bring some people, because it is not a digital nomad hotspot by any stretch of the imagination. It is also not a drivable town. Not a walkable town. Like you must have a car, because everywhere you go, you have to like drive on a highway over something to get somewhere. But as far as the Middle East goes,
quick question. I'm looking at pictures and I'm seeing like a pretty condensed looking city. Is that typically not where you stay though? Do you stay outside the city? You
kind of stay outside. That's like where you look in the condensed part. It's often either just like accommodations you wouldn't likely stay in, or it's where a lot of like the shopping and the restaurants and like there's some really cool markets. So you'd like go and walk around in these places, but like where you live is a little bit like driving distance. But Muscat is like a pretty big city. Like there is a pretty condensed city. There's a lot going on there. There are a lot of restaurants, but you pretty much have to drive places unless you're going into these more of the like walkable markets and like kind of town areas, I would say. But it's a really cool place. I would say there's two things compared to the rest of the countries in the Middle East. So I'd come from Egypt and Jordan. I went to Dubai. I've been to like a couple places around there. And I would say Oman felt like the most peaceful. And by that, I mean like you don't get haggled as much there. And as a woman, you don't get like catcalled as much. People don't harass you as much. I know I've talked to some other men who have like traveled a lot, and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not the experience. And I was like, well, you're not a woman. This isn't happening to you. So from a female perspective, like I still would go to the other countries, and I think they're amazing for many reasons. But as a female traveler, Oman is just like, I don't know, no one talks to you on the street, no one harasses you. Like it may sound simple, but it's like a pretty big difference and a big deal as a traveler, as a female. So it's just really peaceful. There's also like Oman has a lot of oil money. So when you get like everything is like the infrastructure is amazing. The roads are beautiful. Like the mosques are beautiful. The airport I feel like was like filled with marble. It's just a bizarre kind of contrast in the middle of the countries that are around it. So that's just one thing to kind of note about the vibe of Oman. But it's a very like the religious and the religious customs there are very different. So when we went, we were told like, you know, as a female, I needed to have my shoulders and my knees pretty much covered at all times. So I couldn't like walk around in shorts and a tank top. So that's pretty different. And again, I wasn't like, it's not that it's not allowed, but like you're going to get a lot of stares and you're going to stand out. So it's kind of, yeah, like if you want to be respectful of the culture and just sort of blend in and not like insult everyone there, not everyone, but like that's kind of the going rules. And when you walk into mosques as a female, you have to cover your head. So it's a very different place. For me, one of the biggest things I learned just being a female there was just how, I don't know, like how free I am in other countries as a female. And one other example of that, a friend of mine there had met this woman in a mosque who invited us over to her house for lunch. I think I've told this story on the podcast before, but when we were there, so again, I was there in a Wi-Fi tribe chapter. I think there was maybe like 11 or 12 of us and probably 50-50 males, females. And the males were not allowed to come to lunch at this woman's house with us because her husband wasn't home. And so in Oman, a male can have up to 4 wives, unless it's changed since I was there. This is in 2019. But the females were not like, she couldn't have a male in her home if her husband wasn't there. So there's still some like big ways to go in terms of, male, female rights. And I think it's interesting. It's like one of those things as a traveler, like I don't know, until you go to a place like that, you don't really realize how equal and free you are in other places. So that was something I definitely learned along the way. And then in terms of just the country and being a traveler, I think Oman is probably one of the most underrated and underlooked as a travel destination.
Just in general.
It travel. Yeah, it gives me like chills how epic the country, like to go on a road trip there. They have, if you Google, I know you like to look at pictures, if you Google like WADI, they're called wadis, which are like these kind of little river, like running bodies of water. I think it's like means a valley or something. And like wadis, Oman, you'll see like these little green, like bright green, kind of royal green rivers that run through these like desert. It's beautiful,
like
right?
Oases. Yeah.
Yeah, these little oases.
Cool.
So I saw that and I was just like, yes, sign me up. This was still in my phase of like, I want to go everywhere and travel everywhere. I don't care. Like the more different, the better. Now I'm just like, I want to go to my comfortable places and like just sort of be, but this was my more adventurous. But they also have a place that looks like kind of like the Grand Canyon in the US in Oman. There's these islands, they're called like the Diminyat Islands. And it was like this white sand, bright blue water. And I was like, who knew? Like nobody else was there. I had no idea Oman had the natural landscapes and beauty that it does. And it was epic. So I would say, yeah, 100%. If you even like, whether you live there as a nomad, it's kind of hard to do. But if you have a chance and maybe you're there with, again, this is one I'd recommend, like go with a couple friends or your family or some people. If you're going to work from there, just so you have community, and then just like spend your weekends. There's also a place we did a 3-day trip through the Wahiba Desert. So I also went here. Diego had lived here for, I think it was like about 2 years. Maybe it was with his, like when he was a kid. Maybe it was way longer than that, but he lived there several years as a kid because his dad moved around for the oil industry and was there. And so we went camping and like we drove through this desert that like he used to do as a kid with his family, which was really cool. It's like I had never been in a desert like this. So we drove for like 3 days and like saw nothing but sand. And there's these nomadic people who live and like have these places with camels, and it's epic. So I would say if you're wanting a country in the Middle East to explore and you love natural beauty and nature, check out Oman. It's epic.
Again, to ask the same question, is this have the potential for becoming a hotspot? That I do know that the Oman is investing in trying to get more tourism in general, but I don't know that that'll actually translate.
Get more tourism. I think it won't be a hotspot as a nomad. Like again, thinking about the last episode we recorded of all the places that we love. So it does check the boxes in terms of like cool day trips. Like it's on the ocean, there's nature, but it's not walkable at all. And it's not very like friendly, female friendly, just, you know, in general to have free rights there and overall. So I think mostly because of the lack of walkability, like I think that's probably the biggest reason. But definitely do check, like I think as a travel destination, and if you're just looking for somewhere like cool and different to live for a month and you want to experience a local culture, I would highly recommend it, but go with some community. So I don't think it will ever become a popular hotspot just due to the lack of walkability.
Do you know if Wi-Fi Tribe is still doing chapters?
I think they did one there a year or two ago. I know they did another one after I went. Maybe they'll do another random one there because it was a really popular one. It was an epic way to do that with a group, like when you go with a group of other nomads. So
sounds like that would be the
it's
move.
An amazing country, and you really get to like you hear the call to prayer 5 times a day. Like if you've never lived in like a Middle Eastern type of country, like the same way you hear in Turkey, like it's really a cool way to immerse yourself in a very different culture. All right, so what's next on your list?
Okay, not nearly as exotic is Montreal, Canada. I included it in the list because it's not on any digital nomad location radar. I don't know anybody that just goes to Montreal. I mean, maybe for a holiday or something. I guess you would go there just to check it out, see what it's all about.
You spend a month there, correct?
Spent a month there. I still don't know why.
I don't
know. I
was hanging out. Remember, you were looking for a place. You wanted to travel with your dog Charlie.
Yeah.
And
so
I feel
it had
like
to
for
be
some
a place
reason you could take her there. I don't know why there are not other places, but like it was a place that wasn't too far to fly that you could travel with your dog. I think was a big reason. And your friend wanted to go maybe?
Yeah, actually, you might have a better memory on it than I do. Actually, you did jog something loose there. So my old roommate wanted to. He hadn't really done a ton of travel and work like that.
Yeah.
And I think he brought it up. Now that I think about it, I think he actually brought up Montreal. And I was like, I was back in that phase where I'm like, yeah, why not? Just yes to everything, whatever. And then checked it out, and it's like, yes, I can get my dog on that flight. Yes, the import customs, whatever, for pets is a piece of cake. So I was like, yeah, why not? I think I had like a month to spare or something. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I'd been traveling a lot, so I wanted to be with my dog Charlie for a bit. So it all just kind of clicked into place. And I was like, all right, we're going to Montreal. I would not go back to Montreal. Like, this is there's probably a good reason it's not a digital nomad spot that people go to, and more of like a visit for a weekend type of thing. Because that's all I wanted out of it. And I ended up with like 4 weeks of it. That said, there's some pretty good stuff going on in Montreal. They actually have a lot of co-working spaces, like a significant amount of co-working spaces. Really, really good cafes to work from. The food, I'd say, is probably mark number one for me, like the top thing that I remember. There's just the widest selection of food I've seen anywhere. Just opening up Uber Eats, you would have like any food from any country practically you could get delivered to your house. I've never seen
like a very
such
diverse city.
I've never seen such a diverse city in terms of food, at least. I mean, the people probably not so much. I mean, it was French Canadian, and half the things were in French, half the people only speak French there. But the food was incredible. The cost of living was surprisingly low. I think everything was about 3/4 of what I paid here. So, you buy a burger from here for $10, it was $7.50 there. So it was surprisingly affordable. That said, it is a big, busy city. It feels more like, trying to be a digital nomad in San Francisco. It's just like, it's too much. It's very commercial, tons of commercial buildings everywhere, very, very busy streets. Really, the only part that I thought was kind of charming, a place that you want to spend some time, would be Old Town Montreal. And you get all the things you would imagine, like the cobblestone streets and the very, very old buildings and all that. But then what comes with that is a ton of tourism. So you're just elbow to elbow with, travelers going around and checking stuff out. And that's kind of not the experience that you're looking for as a digital nomad. I avoid that at all costs. If wherever possible, I avoid those locations. If it's nearby at a digital nomad location, I don't go to them intentionally. And I found myself right in the middle of that. So yeah, the pros, great for a weekend. Really, really good food. Cool stuff to see. Old Town Montreal, really fun for like 2-3 days, and then get the hell out of there. But in terms of being a digital nomad, that's a reason why it's not popped up on the list. It's just not. It's not just very
a city.
Yeah, it's just a city, and also something that is really weighed heavily on me is because it's such a big, busy commercial city. The buildings are very, very tall, and you don't really think of this. You don't get any natural sunlight ever. You're just walking around perpetually in the shadow of everything. And I thrive off of that. Like I have to go outside and walk 3 times a day just to soak up. I'm like a lizard.
Yeah.
I am completely solar
lizard
powered.
Today.
Very tan lizard. Yeah, if you're watching on Spotify, hop on Spotify so you can check out my tan, by the way.
The only reason to watch this. Jeff isn't playing pickleball outside.
Just mute
Very
Marissa's
tan.
feed. I'm more tan than she is.
I think my video just doesn't make me look as tan. I'm convinced.
Don't be
if I
jealous.
was
It's
in
not a
real
very good
life.
look on you. It's not a good look for you. Jealousy.
Jealous.
You don't wear jealousy well. But no sunlight, and I feel about that. I know how you feel about that. I would put this right next to maybe Belgium for you in terms of how much you would enjoy it. So -600 Marissa rating.
I love it, but it's good to share because again, we just want to share how we end up in places. You try things, sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it, and it's all kind of the fun and the quirks and part of nomad life. So with that, to bring us home, this one I think actually will become a digital nomad hotspot soon. It is not quite yet, but I feel like it's just starting to pop up there. And that's Sri Lanka. So the town specifically that I'm referring to is a place called Weligama. All the names in Sri Lanka are just like so fun, but this one is Weligama, Weligama, Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka was by far and away one of my favorite countries that I have been to. That's, I feel like, as anytime anyone learns that I live a digital nomad life or have been to as many countries as I have, everyone's question is like, what's your favorite place? For the question, it's like Bali, I would say Sri Lanka, Mexico, Costa Rica. Those are my top 4 sort of places.
Say again, Bali.
I know it's not kind of, so Indonesia, but I feel like Bali like, kind of feels like its own kind of country. So Bali,
And
Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Mexico, and Costa Rica. I found, visited them all, but more to go. But I would say so far, and Myanmar, that's my 5th one there. Those are like my 5 favorite countries that I have been to. Won't necessarily be yours, but you'll see they're all kind of jungly, tropical places. But Sri Lanka was just magical. I can't quite explain. So why I went there, I don't remember where I was or where I was going to be honest. I think I was in the States and also just had some months to kill. I don't remember where I went afterwards, to be honest, but our mutual friend Danielle had done a yoga retreat there and just like loved this place. And she wanted to go back, and she's one of my best travel friends. And I was like, you know what? Like, okay, I'll join you. Why not? She had just talked it up so much about how much she loved the country, and she and I share, like, we love all of the same places. So anywhere she loves, I know I'll love. And again, that's how we end up in destinations. So I spent about a month. I went to Nepal afterwards. That's where we went. But went to Sri Lanka, and I would say just the country as an energy as a whole, I just was like, this is one of the best places I've ever been. I just felt it just felt like radiating like peacefulness and joy. It's hard to explain, but it's just epic. It's this island. The closest like country. It's kind of near India, so it has a lot of Indian sort of like influence there, just culturally. If you look at the people, the food, the like religion, it kind of feels like India a bit, but a little bit calmer. And it's a very big island, but it's an island, and there's just incredible beaches. There's also safaris. Like one day, just on a Tuesday before our work day, we went on a safari to go like check out. There's a ton of elephants and like leopards. There's all sorts of stuff. It's a great, like a lot of surfers will go live in Sri Lanka, and it's a great also beginner surf town. The waves, like some of the beaches are just like these like perfect, just like wave after perfect wave to learn on. So it's a lot of people start their surf journeys there. What else did I love? Just the food is great. The people are great. It just feels like magic. That's all I can say. And Weligama, it's not super walkable, but you can it's kind of like Bali in the way of like you rent a scooter, but everywhere is like very quick on a scooter. And it just feels like you can get in a tuk. You don't have to drive. You can get in a tuk-tuk for like pretty inexpensively, and they'll drive you where you need to go. So you don't really like need to rent a car per se. But it's just, yeah, there's like the inland part of the country too. There's this just like beautiful lush lands you can like take a train through. And what else? It's amazing. So the Wi-Fi, I would say near the beaches are not super great yet. Inland, it's really strong, but I think it will, it gets better and better. But I think as soon as that's up and running, just for the surfing and just like the culture and the like laid back beach kind of town vibe, it's about to be, not even about to be, I think it's still got some years, but I do trust that it will be a hotspot. So go before that happens. It's amazing. That's all I got to say.
I'm checking it out right now. It looks like Wi-Fi Tribe is going in October. They're claiming that they're getting 100 gigs down. So maybe the internet's getting better.
Maybe. I stayed at a co-living space that I stayed at, and it was like the best Wi-Fi within that beach. And I want to say it was like maybe 20 gigs, but sometimes it wasn't always great. But that was maybe a year and a half ago. So, a lot changes quickly with Wi-Fi. So maybe, I know this is the second time Wi-Fi Tribe is going there and staying there. So maybe they find ways to like pump up the Wi-Fi a little bit and get better Wi-Fi.
These pictures look amazing. I can
It's amazing.
Imagine why you said everything that you said. Yeah, this looks beautiful.
It's epic. So yes, highly, highly recommend. The country as a whole, like I also know some people who have gone to, the only other people I know that aren't like my travel friends, the two people I know who have gone there both went on their honeymoons. So it's kind of like an off the beaten path, adventurous honeymoon spot. Like otherwise I don't really have any friends. It's so far to get to from the States anyway, that like not a lot of travelers, and again, it's an island, so it's kind of landlocked. You can't just like, take a train to the next country. So it's maybe it's a little bit off the beaten path for that reason. But like whether you want to go just to travel and visit or live, like I could live there for months and months and be so happy. Like it's amazing.
Oh God, that is a hellish flight. Jesus.
Yeah, it's far. It's hard to get to. So that's maybe like the hold up so far. But I think Yeah, I know a lot of people who kind of ended up there like not by accident, the same way we're like, I don't know, I have a friend, I said yes, I'll go, and then we're just like, I'm never leaving. Like I left kicking and screaming. Like we went because I think Danielle wants to go. We want to go to Nepal to do some hiking and check out the mountains before we had to. I was supposed to go to Japan. I didn't end up going, but we were like trying to fit a lot in quickly, and I was like, I don't want to leave. It was one of those places. Like some of the other ones we talked about, we're like, okay, great, get me out of here, I'm done. Yeah. Sri Lanka was one where I was like, please don't make me leave. I want to stay here forever. It was just like every morning I would swim in the ocean and walk like miles and miles on this beach and hardly like see anyone. You feel like you're like in the jungle with these palm trees just like on the ocean, and it is epic. So yeah, check out some pictures if you haven't looked. But that is another one that I lived for about a month and wish I had stayed far longer. We'll definitely go back at some point in my life, and just, yeah, very epic. So that is one I do suggest.
Now. You've sold me on it. I see Wi-Fi Tribe's going. I might be too old for Wi-Fi Tribe. I don't know. I'm pushing the upper age bracket.
I know.
You feeling that?
We have our Nomad friends.
I'm a little older than you, though, so I feel maybe a little stronger.
You got a few years on me. But yeah, now I feel like we did all of our chapters and now like have so many Nomad friends. If you want to go, I will go with you. And it actually does have a Nomad community now. It's actually one of those perfect places where it's like just big enough that there's like, it's still small enough that like if you're there, you almost know all the Nomads there because everyone is kind of like, there's WhatsApp group chats, like there's events, like you're gonna get to know that like everyone goes to this one co-working spot where the Wi-Fi is, so you just meet everyone like on day one. But it's like enough people that you can kind of meet people you like and meet some friends. So it's big enough, small enough, but I think it will keep growing in terms of the Nomad community. So if you go, you can definitely meet other like nomadic friends, which is cool.
Oh, you know what? I haven't had a place speak to me in like a year. Ooh. This feels like this might be my next one.
Yes, Jeff. I love it. Tell me when you're going. Maybe I'll go. I love it. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to get there, but worth it. And then the rest of like, pop over to Southeast Asia after. There's so many countries that are amazing. So and again, this is how we end up in places. Someone says something and we're like, I want to go. And then you do. So the best way to do that, again, is to get that remote job. Check out the Anywhere Atlas if you are ready to actually just find all the companies that let you travel so you don't have to spend all the work searching. You can actually just like apply and get to know people and get an interview. So beachcommute.com/atlas. And if you're not ready to join yet, but you just want to hop on our email list, go to beachcommute.com/email. We send out tons of info about different remote job like types of roles that are out there that you can do. We send info about the podcast, lots of other digital nomad tips. And it's really the one place that Jeff and I share our personal travel photos and other things going on about where we go and where we are every week. So check out beachcommute.com/email. Bye.